Welcome to this new Addon Spotlight. In this Addon Spotlight we're gonna look at the Microsoft Flight Simulator FA18 Charlie Legacy Hornet. The Legacy Hornet is developed by a team of DC Design and CG Simulations and is based on the native Hornet, right? The native Hornet, which was originally part of Flight Simulator X, for those who've played that one, I would say a long time ago. The good thing is that they released it as a free solution. It's also kind of an open source, right? So they provided it as is, so there's no, let's say, official support for it. And they mentioned that they are, let's say, expecting that the community will pick it up if further enhancements are needed. So you can completely customize it. Really cool. It's version 1.0. It has been released 2 days ago. So let's say let's have a look at it, but let's see first how we can download it, right? So the first thing is you need to download it and then of course install it. So once you download it, you will have a file called, in this case, DC Designs aircraft. You can right click on it and then you can extract it, right? You can extract it in the directory where you store your community add-ons. In my case, that's that's this one, right? Modify the directory. So I'm gonna press this and then say extract, and then say after some time it has been extracted, and then of course you can start Flight Simulator. It's really important that you do this step prior to starting Flight Simulator, else it won't pick it up. And that's something which is, I would say, on my wish list, that you can simply kind of hot add the add-ons without restarting Flight Simulator. But it looks like that based on the method that it has been implemented currently, how to detect the new community add-ons or how to import these new community add-ons, I don't see it on a short term being implemented. So I'll pause recording now, then I will start Flight Simulator, and once we're, I would say, in the aircraft, I will come back to you. So Flight Simulator has started, but now the question is, where is the aircraft? Well, if you search for Hornet, you will find, of course, two of them. One from the Boeing, which is the one which came as part of one of the updates, but also there's the FA18 Charlie Hornet, and that's the one which you need to have, right? So going to deliveries, you will see a lot of deliveries, or a lot of liveries, and not a lot of deliveries, well, including, I would say, several, I'd say, specific ones for, I would say, the US, let's say, Marines, Navy, but also, of course, that, I would say, Hornet Blue Angels one, and that's, I would say, probably the most, between brackets, popular one. That's being used a lot, right? Also, you see here there's the RCAF one and the default one. So let's select one and then select the place where we can take off, right? So in the UK there are a lot of, I would say, naval air bases, or I would say, so let's select one of them and then see how it goes. Sometimes they're a little bit hard to find, but I thought that there were some in, say, here pretty close by. It's not this one. Well, never mind. Let's just select one, right? So we're gonna select glider one. That's not what we want. This one, AB, Lloyd Charles AB, right? So those are the Air Force bases. If there's AB behind it, those are the Air Force bases for the US, so, or for the UK, sorry. And then we're gonna simply select one of the parking ramps. So set as departure. You can see it's a little bit cloudy, but no problem. The thing which you need to keep in mind, that the first time the aircraft needs to load, it will take some time because it needs to compile some stuff. That's, I would say, what you see also with other aircraft, but also with other scenery. So it might take a few minutes. So again, I'm gonna pause recording for now because I don't want you to watch at my screen while the sim is loading. And then once it has been loaded, we continue this video. And we're back. It has loaded. Right here we can see the Blue Angels version of the 18 Charlie Hornet. So let's have a look at it a little bit closer by. So first of all, right, if you look at the details, I can see that they, I would say, spend some time on it, right? Even though it's free. The cool thing is that you also can see the usage, but you can see that the logos, I would say, might require some more attention because they're, I would say, those are not really sharp. compared to the rest of the aircraft. If we go to the other side, we see the same thing. The cool thing is that if you look at the gear, this one is really detailed, right? So a lot of details are here, including, I would say, the pneumatics and hydraulic systems. The wheels are here, and the same thing is applicable to the, say, to this part of the aircraft, right? So really cool to see even this one. I would say this level of detail, really nice. Now let's go inside the aircraft. I said inside the aircraft. So here we are. And this is the cockpit, right? So you can see we can look completely around us. They even spend time on, let's say, the detail of the chair which the pilot is sitting in. And then we see a lot of buttons. So we can see, for example, the oxygen and all the radio and communication panels over here. Then we see some other buttons related to the tanks over here, and also some other ones like the rudder trim. You can see while hovering over it, right? Not everything is working, but hey, that's kind of expected because it's, let's say, community add-on, and maybe they will fix some of that in the future. Here's, of course, the throttle and some other buttons over here. The ground power and the AON. Not sure what AON stands for. So if you know what AON stands for, let me know. Ground power and also ground power. Some recent buttons over here. It looks like that they need to update the, I would say, the text, right, of these buttons to make it clear what they are. Then here we've got some other buttons, and you can see that, I would say, this panel probably requires some more attention because it's not that sharp. So we've got the hook bypass, we've got the landing lights, the launch bar, of course, the anti-skid, and the flaps leveler, the jet, and also, of course, the, I would say, parking brake over here. Gear is up in this area, and then we've got a lot of systems, right? We can see the engine information over here, including the RPMs, the oil pressure, what is this? The RPMs, yeah, the temperature of the exhaustion, and then a lot of screens with a lot of buttons. So it looks like that those buttons are working. Going to the center, we've got the HUD, which hasn't been, I would say, configured yet, or I'd say not configured, right? Built yet. And then several other buttons over here, which allows you to manipulate the radio, as it looks like. Below we can see the autopilot and some other buttons which we can use, including switching on the beacons. Here you can see that there are some, I would say, help text which are not working yet. But again, that's probably, let's say, a matter of time. Going over the right side, we can see the speed, the altitude, but also the climb rate. And of course the horizon over here. The hook, which isn't, I would say, working. We can fold or unfold the wings. Not sure if that has been, I would say, animated. It looks like, because you saw something moving over here, right? Let's. Oh yeah, here you can see, right? So it's working. So you can, I would say, even park on, I would say, an aircraft carrier, which is cool. Over here we've got the electrical part, including the generators for left and right, the batteries, of course, and then some other buttons like the anti-ice, some other buttons like the warning lights, the chart lights, some buttons which allows us to, say, manipulate the radio and other cool stuff. You can see that if we look at this pane right on the left side vs the right side, you can see that, say, the drawings or the sharpness of this, say, characters is not that sharp. But that might require some more attention, and hopefully the community will pick it up and make this aircraft even greater. Then over here we've got, of course, the yoke, right? So is the yoke? No. The stick to fly around, right? You can see it's working. You can't hide it, as far as I figured out. So that's, I would say, sometimes might be, I would say, a little bit hard. Although I just figured out where it is. It's a little bit weird. It's over here. So here you can find the yoke. And then you've got several buttons. But to be honest, you don't need to use those buttons because there, I would say, is nothing connected to it. Here's a clock, and here's the cabin pressure altitude. So you can still hide and seek, right? So that's really cool, right? So the canopy jet, right? I would say that's this glass, I would say, protection, which is above us. That's something which hasn't been animated yet. but I do expect that they might do some more stuff on that. Other than that, what do you have? Well, let's see if there's a checklist involved. As you can see, there's a checklist involved. It's gonna move it to the left side, and here it contains all the stuff. So you can simply click on it, and then it should bring you normally to the position. And that's also something which looks like requires some more work, because it's not really jumping. But this is something which I also expect to be, I would say, picked up by the community, and then I'd say it makes it easier to say kind of start the aircraft if you're unfamiliar with it. Based on the checklist, I do think it's kind of borrowed from the original Hornet, right? The original Hornet, I mean the one which was already part of Flight Simulator 2020, but that's just guessing. So really cool to see this aircraft, right? I would say a lot of cool things in it. So we can, I would say, start the aircraft, right? I'm gonna do it I would say, between brackets quick way by pressing Ctrl E, which will, I would say, start the aircraft. So that's cool. You can hear that the engines are starting to rotate, right? You can see the gauges here are increasing. In this case, the left engine is RPMs are increasing. Both the temperature for left and right are already burning. Then we've got this nice display over here, which we can use, right? So we can navigate to the different panels. Some of them you will find out that they are not implemented yet, but I do expect that they will be implemented in the future. GPS, right? You can see almost everything which you try to hit, it says not implemented. But hey, let's give them some time, right? Maybe they will implement it. It looks like that these panels, right, on the right side, which are mainly for the views, the different views, those are being enabled, and you can still switch to the HUD over here. The same thing is applicable to the right side, right? Here you can also do the same things. Target data, other buttons over here. And to be honest, I didn't look too much into details from these buttons yet. But it looks like that based on a quick look, only the menu buttons and the ones for the view, the different views are I would say, kind of, let's say, animated. Going of course to the center again, because we want to see this one also. This one is, let's say, a little bit different, right? And here you can see the TCM button, the ILS, the mode. You can switch the from map to let's say this view. This functionality has not been enabled as well as the other ones. So let's see how it flies, right? So let's, I would say, simply take it outside for a flight. Let's make sure that all the lights are switched on, right? So generators are switched on, that's good, right? Eyes has not been switched on. This one can be used crew visibility off. Chart light is on. Are there any other stuff which we can switch on, like from light perspective? Let's have a look at it. Heading course, no, that's not what we're looking for. External tanks. I'm pretty sure that I saw some light buttons somewhere, but now of course I lost where they were. Okay. Well, in this case, let's give it a try. Let's not do any lightning stuff, right? So, assuming that the lights will be switched on by the Ctrl E button, because that in some cases does a little bit more than you would expect, because you can see that some of the lights were switched on. Right, this one isn't even is it animated? Yes. You need to do it with the mouse, I would say, switched on. Generator switched on, so cool. So let's have a look, right? So let's reach the view. Let's remove the parking brake in this case. And let's see if we can make some progress. That's one of the things. You can't steer the aircraft.
Butcher's ground KLM 467. Request taxi for takeoff departing straight out.
That's, I would say, kind of weird. And you also hear that I forgot to change the how do you say it? That I forgot to change the call sign, of course. So let's see if we can turn the aircraft. It looks like that you can't turn the aircraft, at least not using my joystick, but that might be me. So let me try it a different way. Okay, doesn't work. Challenging. Right, so this is already the first challenge. For some reason my joystick, which is the Turtle Beach one, doesn't allow me to steer the aircraft. So what we're gonna do is do a little trick, of course, because I simply want to show you how it, I would say, flies. I'm not gonna go into too much more detail currently. And then let's see if we can, I would say, fly with it. So we're gonna go to the same airport, but the only thing we're gonna do is, of course, set this departure. So we're gonna set the active runway using this method. I know it's not the idle way, but hey, let's see. Normally what happens, right, if you would use the rudders like for all the other aircrafts, I would say, I know it still is the wrong way, but hey, that's the way it has been implemented. Could be used to, I would say, kind of taxi the aircraft. And it looks like that they didn't implement that. Or at least there's something which I need to look up from the Turtle Beach perspective, why it's not, I would say, turning the aircraft in the correct directions. If I find it out, I will definitely let you know. So in this case, I'm gonna press ready. So we're ready on the runway, as you can see. So lights have been switched on, which is good, right? So let's go inside and let's increase the throttle. And of course also remove the parking brakes. Now steering is working, so that's kind of weird. So here we go. Gears up. Still forgot to change the call sign, which is a little bit weird. If KLM would have these aircrafts, would surprise me. So right, so we can still fly, we can still look around us, still works great. And you can see that we're climbing, I would say, pretty fast, which is cool. Now I wondered if this one, this button over here, right, is the autopilot. But I tried to press it, and then you can say, okay, you can set certain options, right? You can set the H select, B alt and R alt. So I do think that you can use them. B alt stands for barometer alt, and I do think that based on this button you can, I would say, kind of use it. But I didn't try it out yet. That's something I need to figure out, because I would say, not flying with, I would say, these kind of fighter jets a lot, right? Normally I fly with, I would say, a lot of I would say smaller aircraft, but also larger one. The cool thing is that you can really see the icing, right? That's I would say, that's really cool. You can see it also climbing at really crazy, I would say, with crazy speed. So let's push down the aircraft a bit, and also decrease our speed a bit. So let's see if we can make some maneuvers, right? Let's adjust the trim. The trim wheel, that's one other thing. Looks like it works, but not idle in my case. So let's see if we can move around. Right, this works. And if you also now look at the, I would say, bottom right, you can see that the gears are nicely up. So all these things are working. So let's go to the back of the aircraft. You can see that the flaps are being set currently, right? So let's see if we can, say, kind of reset them. And that's another thing which is kind of weird, because you can see that in this case the flaps are, let's say, you can't reset the flaps to 0, right? It's either, let's say, 37 degrees or 45. Again, I'm not a jet expert or an, say, a jet expert, right? Especially a fighter jet expert. But this looks weird to me, because I would have expected this would be, in this case, 0 flaps. So maybe we can check it inside the cockpit. If we know where the flaps are. I was expecting this to be the flaps, to be honest. But it looks like it's not has been implemented. But okay, it's flying, right? It's flying, I would say, pretty nice. So the autopilot button, not sure if it has been implemented yet, to be honest, because I would expect some things to be illuminated here. But the question, of course, also is why would you use an autopilot in this case? The cool thing is that if you look at this map, right, it's nice. You can see the details on this map. So is there a way to change the data which is being shown? Well, not really. I tried pushing multiple buttons already. And you can see that there's not really, I would say, an option where you can say, hey, I want to see this information. You can see, of course, your speed, etc., and the direction you're flying, and the say ground, but nothing more than that yet. First, I thought, hey, it's the waypoint thing, but that button also doesn't function yet. But hey, in the meantime, we're going crazy high climb, right? So climb rate is crazy high, and also our speed goes crazy slow. So let's see if we can, say, kind of stabilize the aircraft. And that's another thing, right? So I'm now switching that, or now turning the trim wheel, but you can see it's, I would say, kind of weird because it's going into weird directions. Because now it says it's going up, right? Which would be a corrective measure if you would go up. But if you look at the direction of the aircraft, right? If you would look from this angle, then it's going down. The other thing is that the oh, that's the other one. And left engine was not fully throttled, right? I was saying, hey, it's not, say, completely switching on the afterburners or the afterburners. So let's see if we can fly on a stable altitude. But as you can see, it says trim, says goes up, but actually the aircraft goes down. So that's something which needs to be fixed, or it's a joystick thing in my case, could also be the case. Let's try to do it the other way around. You can see that this really doesn't work. So that's something which needs to be looked at, but hey, it flies, right? Flaps for some reason have been corrected now to 3%, so that's good. But you can still see that the trim wheel is, say, not working 100% okay. You can fly with it, right? You can see that say you can make maneuvers. Let's see if we can push it to the max. Let's try to make a loop. It is really cool, right? So they even animated that piece. And then it goes in blackout mode, right? Because that's, I would say, kind of a flight simulator. But you can also see that I can't make the loop, right? It doesn't allow me to push the aircraft further. Well, it allows me now to push it further. Well, let's see if we can make a loop. And this is kind of normal, right? And so you still need to, let's say, push it or pull it multiple times before you can make the real loop. Which results in a weird view, right? So let's turn back. So overall, it looks cool. There is still some work to do with the flaps, but also with the trim system. Although now it's climbing, so it looks like something has been, I would say, kind of, reset for some reason. But the trim wheel is really sensitive and really does start making weird things, as you can currently see. It does not make any sense based on what I see. Hey, it's free, right? So if you want to use the Hornet 18 Charlie, besides the other, I would say, aircrafts, or the other Hornet, I should say, which was already released a long time ago, then go to Flight Sim 2. You can find the download link in the description of this video and give it a try yourself. Here ends this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, then consider to use the like button. If you got questions or comments, then feel free to post them in the comment box below. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then make sure that you're subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time.